Welcome back to another Ethical Point Explainer. Today we're diving into a notoriously tricky UPSC ethics question. We're going to put on our administrator hats and really unpack that intense push and pull between securing our national borders and protecting our fragile ecosystems. By the end of this, we'll map out together exactly how you can structure a winning answer on exam day. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the core ethical dilemma, security versus ecological survival, expediency and indigenous rights, the philosophical strain, the sustainable security doctrine, and finally, we'll wrap it all up by decoding the model answer.
Section 1. The core ethical dilemma.
Okay, so to kick things off, we need to clearly define the tension we're dealing with. This isn't just some abstract textbook debate. It is a very real, on-the-ground clash between building immediate defense infrastructure and ensuring the long-term survival of some of the most sensitive ecosystems out there. This is the exact verbatim UPSC question we're breaking down today. Notice how it specifically asks us to keep national security in mind while weighing these environmental controversies. We're talking about incredibly delicate areas, places like the high Himalayas or our island territories, where every single road, dam, tunnel, or port forces us into this tightrope walk between sovereignty, sustainability, and social justice.
Now, we have to understand how the state actually views national security. It's almost always treated as a categorical imperative. In ethics, that basically means it's an absolute, no questions asked obligation. And the logic? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Without territorial integrity, without a secure border, no other human rights can really exist. Because of that, defense projects like all-weather roads or advanced surveillance networks aren't seen as just nice-to-haves. They are literally prerequisites for the nation's survival.
Section 2. Security versus ecological survival. Let's try to ground this theory a bit. Imagine a hypothetical mountain pass tunnel being built right in the middle of a fragile Himalayan zone. This is a perfect example of the balancing act administrators face every single day. On one side, you've got military strategists, and rightly so. They are prioritizing rapid troop mobility and border management. They absolutely need that tunnel to maintain sovereignty. But then, on the other side, you have conservation advocates sounding the alarm. They're pointing out that blasting through that mountain is going to cause severe deforestation, glacier melting, landslides, and a massive loss of biodiversity. Both of these sides, they have completely valid, urgent priorities.
But here is where it gets really interesting. Environmental degradation isn't just a tree-hugger issue. It actually creates severe, non-traditional security threats. Take the devastating flash floods that hit an army camp in Uttarakhand. Habitat fragmentation and human-induced landslides can actually wash away the very infrastructure we're trying to build. It's this wild paradox where undermining the ecology fundamentally undermines the exact security those projects were supposed to guarantee.
Section 3. Expediency and Indigenous Rights.
Let's look at another major headache for an administrator. Imagine proposing a strategic border road that cuts right through indigenous forest lands. You are faced with an incredibly heavy choice here. On one hand, local border populations, often tribal communities, rely completely on those forests and rivers for their daily survival. Pushing a megaproject through means risking massive displacement and completely eroding their culture. But on the flip side, the regional economy in these ultra-harsh climates is usually struggling. They desperately need the economic boost these projects bring, mainly to stop the younger generation from just packing up and migrating away. It is the classic development versus rights dilemma. And it's tough.
So how do things go wrong? Well, it usually builds into this dangerous cascade of strategic expediency. It starts totally reasonably, with the state needing secrecy for a sensitive defense project. That urgency gets them fast-track clearances. But then, crucial democratic safeguards, like a proper, rigorous environmental impact assessment, end up getting bypassed just to prevent project details from leaking. And what's the result? A total erosion of trust with the local communities. It dilutes procedural fairness and can actually turn a vital strategic asset into a massive liability simply because it was forced through without local scrutiny.
Section 4. The philosophical strain. To really elevate your answer for the examiner, you've got to drop in some key ethical terminology. First up, anthropocentrism. This is a purely human-centric approach. It's the mindset that dominates when decision-makers say we need that mountain pass tunnel, regardless of the cost, judging it purely on its human utility. It operates on the absolute belief that national defense and human economic growth must always trump the natural world.
The total opposite of that is ecocentrism. This view radically shifts the lens, arguing that nature has intrinsic value all on its own. It's not just there for us to use. An ecocentric approach challenges us to look way beyond our immediate human needs and recognize that these ecosystems deserve protection in their own right.
They aren't just expendable resources we can burn through for strategic gains.
And these philosophical views, they aren't just academic fluff. They literally dictate our future. Meeting today's security needs with heavy-handed, destructive infrastructure imposes permanent, irreversible costs on the next generation. That is a direct violation of intergenerational equity. Plus, we can't ignore our global environmental responsibility. If a localized border project accelerates the melting of Himalayan glaciers, that's not just a local problem anymore. That has massive global climate implications.
Section 5. Sustainable Security Doctrine.
All right, so as future public administrators, how do we fix this? We have to break out of this binary security versus environment mindset. Taking some cues from our data, an integrated approach is the only way forward. We should absolutely lean on constitutional provisions to guide our ethical compass here, but we also need to look outward. What are other countries doing? We should be studying and adopting international green defense protocols. This means we have to fundamentally evolve our environmental impact assessments so they offer credible, science-based evaluations, yes, even for highly sensitive strategic projects.
To make that happen, here's your actionable checklist for handling urgent defense clearances ethically. Step 1. Ecocentric engineering. We've got to minimize our physical footprint, using green roads and relying way more on tech-led surveillance. Step 2. Landscape-level planning. We have to stop looking at single projects in isolation. We need to assess the cumulative ecological hit across entire border sectors. And Step 3. Transparent trade-offs. I know defense requires secrecy, but the environmental costs, those still need to be debated openly and transparently with the local communities.
Let's pull all these threads together into a rock-solid model answer structure. You want to open by acknowledging the profound ethical challenge right at the intersection of security and sustainability in places like the Himalayas. That sets the stage perfectly. Next, clearly list out the core dilemmas: security versus sustainability, expediency versus due process, anthropocentrism versus ecocentrism. This proves you understand both the military and the conservationist perspectives. Finally, for the way forward, propose the doctrine of sustainable security. Show the examiner you don't just see the problems, you actually know how to harmonize national defense with ecological stewardship.
We wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to chew on. Is a border that is heavily protected by the military, but totally devastated by human-induced climate disasters, truly secure? When you start recognizing environmental degradation as a long-term national security threat in itself, it changes absolutely everything we know about defense. Keep that in mind as you study, and I'll see you in the next explainer.